The US is famous for instant eats that pile on the pounds. But there are ways of getting a fast food fix without the calories. If you make fast food at home, you know exactly what's going to go into it. So today what I'm going to make are these mini burgers called sliders. I'm going to make chicken sliders and I'm going to serve these with a side of hash browns. So let me get on to my marinade, and I'm going to use some Mexican-inspired flavours to marinate my chicken. Beautiful coriander, some chilies, some garlic and some limes, and a little bit of salt and pepper. Pasting that garlic down, you just get this beautiful kind of opening of flavours from the garlic. It's just going to be a really fresh marinade to lend some flavour to our chicken breasts for our little sliders. There's our coriander. Now onto our chilies. I'm using 2 large red chilies. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to mix all of these together just to get them ready for sprinkling on my chicken. I'm using chicken breast today, and that's just a nice, good, quick cook. It'll sort of really take on whatever flavour you throw at it. In this case, I'm going to throw all of this at it. Loosely calling it a marinade, dry marinade at this stage. Now, the moisture I'm adding to here is my lime. And with any sort of marinade, you really do need some sort of acid in there. Usually some sort of citrus, maybe it's wine, maybe it's vinegar, but you need something to kind of bite in, if you like. It sort of opens the door for our flavours. Last ingredient here, just a little bit of oil, and now I just want to mix that up a little bit. They look great. Okay, that's now going to go into the fridge for 20 minutes, and that gives me enough time to get started on my hash browns. I love a hash brown. I like to keep it really simple. I just want to use potatoes and onion and a little bit of salt and pepper, and that's it. Now, first things first, clean tea towel on the chopping board. The trick to really great hash browns is to get a lot of the juice out of the potato so that it's a really dry, crisp hash brown at the end of it. And the best way to do it is to grate it onto this clean tea towel and then squeeze it all out afterwards. Gather up the corners of your tea towel. So just bundle it up and then slowly twist it there. People wonder why they can't make these wonderful hash browns. It's because they leave all of this in there. Not only that, people start adding eggs and flour and all sorts of things into their recipe. Oh, no, no. All we need is our beautiful grated potato that's dry, a bit of salt and pepper and our onion. We don't need this for anything, this starchy water. Now we've got this bundle of really dried grated potato. So now I'm going to get my onion in here and I'm going to give it a really fine dice so that it cooks nice and quickly. Bit of salt and pepper, dash of oil, perhaps a little more than a dash. Just mix that up with a fork just to sort of fluff it up and get that onion and that seasoning evenly spread throughout. I'm cooking one big pan of hash brown here because it's much easier than doing little individual ones. So if I just get some oil in this pan that's now nice and hot, and I really do want to make sure that I get a big sizzle when I go on in here, just piling my hash browns into there. And then just ease it around the pan. You don't need to press it down really firmly. And I'm just going to let that settle for a little bit. Make sure it's on a good high heat, and I can just hear that the sizzle is telling me that that's going to do its browning on the bottom. I love hash browns anytime. I don't believe in this idea that, oh, hash brown is for breakfast. No way. I think you should have it whenever you feel like it. It's been about 4 or 5 minutes, so it's looking nice and golden on the underside. So now the tricky bit, I've got to turn it over. Pop a little dinner plate over here. Take a big breath. Really hope like heck it works, and do a quick flip. Oh! That looks great, and then slide it back into the pan. And that needs now about 3 or 4 minutes just to cook those potatoes all the way through, and they'll be soft and mushy on the inside, but that beautiful crisp goldenness that I'm loving. A great match for the hash browns is going to be a fresh, chunky salsa. And I'm going to use some of those same flavours that we've got in the marinade, and of course that base of tomatoes. Now I'm going to keep this salsa deliberately really chunky because I love it when all those flavours kind of sit alongside each other, but they're not necessarily all blended together. You can taste them all separately. Next up is my red onion, which is a slightly milder flavour than those brown ones. Just going to use a couple of chilies in here. I've got enough of that heat going on in the marinade, so I don't need too much of it in the salsa. This little combination of flavours is like a little party in a bowl, I can tell you. Now, last key ingredient here is salt. Our little friend salt says, ooh, and it wakes all the flavours up. Let's give that a nice mix around. You can taste it if you want at this stage, but to be honest, if you taste it now, you're not going to get the true flavour of it, and you might be tempted to add more salt or more lime, but you really need to let it sit for, let's say, 20 minutes and then taste it and start to say, oh, I think I'll add a bit more lime, etc. So I'm happy just to set it aside at this stage. So now I need to get on to cooking my chicken for my sliders. So let's get a nice big pan, good and hot. These can come out. They've been sitting in my marinade for a while, so I know those will have started to take on some of the flavour. Just getting that oil nice and hot. It's really a good idea when you're trying to get a beautiful colour on your food is to not crowd the pan out too much, otherwise everything starts to stew, and that's not what we're after. So I've got a fairly high heat on here. I want some good colour on the first side, so I'm not going to touch them. Turn them over, turn my heat down a little bit, and then they can cook through. I think there'll be enough colour on there now, so let's whip those over. Ooh. I'm just turning that all the way down to low so that that chicken can cook all the way through. Best way to find out if it's cooked is just, I like to touch these two fingers together and press that, and it should feel like that. It should feel quite firm to the touch, and then you know it's cooked through. You can always slice through just to make sure as well. Right, that feels cooked. So I'm going to set those aside and get on to making my sliders. First of all, I've got these lovely rolls, and then a little bit of lettuce and mayonnaise. Put a little bit of freshness in each burger. So I'll just have a nice smear of mayonnaise in each one of them. Grab a bit of lettuce, throw that in there like that. These are a great little party snack, they really are. You can hold them in one hand, drink in the other. Kids love them, just leave out a bit of the chilli, or not, depending how well behaved they've been. All right, now I'm ready for the chicken in the slider. And I love having a whole chicken breast instead of a patty. It makes a really nice change. Succulent, moist, healthy, in it goes. Let's put a little bit of the salsa on each one of my sliders. I've kept my hash browns warm in the oven, so let's grab those. Just chop this up into some nice, easy bits, easy to eat. Stack these little hash brown morsels on the side here. Oh, and the best thing about making fast food at home is you know exactly what's gone into it. This is fresh and healthy, and I'll just taste it, but I suspect it's going to be delicious. Flavours of Mexico in this little slider. Amazing.